Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. Title of tonight's episode is the first day of camp. So we brought in the insider, the number one man inside the building in Ashburn, Mr. Zach Selby, one of our first guests on the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Selby. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm really excited the camp is back. It feels like we've been waiting for this one for a longer amount of time than others for some reason. But it's finally here, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there in the field, even though practice was just maybe an hour and a half, really short practice. But a lot of really, really good stuff out there for us to digest over the next, 10 hours or so before they get on the field again.
Right. I know that Dan Quinn in his presser with Adam Peters yesterday kind of highlighted saying that in practice you're going to be seeing a lot of red zone work. So, the first question I have to ask you, Selby, how did Jayden Daniels look? We're hearing a lot of rave reviews on Twitter, on social media and Sphere, except for Chris Russell, who said there was some misses, of course, but nobody's going to be perfect, of course, on their first day. So how did Jayden Daniels look?
I was probably one of the people that was raving about Jayden Daniels because for me, I think he had an exceptional day. There was one pass breakup that I noticed that maybe he possibly could have done a little bit, went a different direction or something like that. But someone also said it might have been a sack on that play. But for the most part, he looked exactly as we expected him to look. I mean, he looks exactly the way he did back in June whenever he was, throwing over people in OTAs. Now, granted, to be fair, we're not in full pads yet, so there's not that much different today than what you saw a few weeks ago. There's not a whole lot of contact. They're in shorts and helmets. I mean, there's really not that much of a difference, like I said. But I think for what he was asked to do, he did exactly what you wanted him to do. And I know, Dan Quinn said that there's going to be some rotation. Some days you're going to see him or Mariota more than others, but for today, it seemed like it was a Jayden Daniels day because other than that first 11-on-11 period, it was all pretty much Jayden in the starters. And he looked like he had chemistry with all of his players. He looked like he was in sync. He had a command of the huddle. And tell you, the ball really just flies out of his hands in such a really pretty way. It's such a noticeable difference. And it's really just pretty just to watch him go through and go about his business. And nobody's perfect, but at the same time, it was about as perfect as you would want a first day to go.
Would you say it was comparable to Sam Howell? Because when I went to training camp 2 years ago, you could see a drastic difference between Carson and Sam Howell in the way that ball came out, or Taylor and Sam Howell. You could see the difference in the way that ball came out of his hand. Is it almost like that?
Well, so not to compare Sam to Jayden in sort of ways because I do like Sam as a player, but Jayden looks like a Heisman Trophy player. There's no other way to say it. I mean, there was a couple of read option plays that he had where he pulls it and you see the magic. You see him just gliding across the field, using that speed and that quickness. And then whenever he's asked to be in the pocket, he's surveying his options. He's getting the ball out quick. He's delivering pretty, for the most part, on target strikes. It's just, and that again, it's not to knock Sam or anything. It's just Jayden has a certain athletic ability that is higher than most people, and it's very clear based on just him being out there that he has a lot more athletic ability than most individuals, and it's like I said, it's really pretty to watch. And yeah, he's got a lot of other things to work on for sure, but at the same time, it seems he hasn't done anything that would make me say that he's not going to be the starting quarterback week one. I know they've got a waiting period there; they've got to see the process and everything. But for the moment he stepped on the field to now, I haven't seen anything that makes me go, "Oh, I don't know if they made a mistake there." He's like, "Yep, that's a Heisman winning player, and that's one of the best players in the SEC last year."
Absolutely. So It's like the Giants uploading that video of Daniel Jones. Sorry, Reed.
Overthrown the
Yeah.
swing back by
Oh,
5
no,
yards.
that's tough. That's
That is
just one
tough. That
point.
sucks.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate situation.
Especially after Yeah, but especially after the Hard Knocks when like even showed Son was like, I mean, if you want to win, you can just trade up. You only get one shot at this. Talking about trading up for Jayden Daniels, it's like, ooh, Daniel Daniels. That's like, but speaking of our first round pick, how about our second round pick? Terzon Newton surprising people going out there today. I didn't expect him to be ready day one of camp. What did he do, and how did he look?
Yeah, he mostly just did individual drills. And I think a lot of people were surprised. I think even the coaches were surprised that he was
Yeah,
going to be out there that quick because it was literally just 2 days ago that Adam Beers and Dan Quinn were talking about, he'll be ready sooner rather than later. But, we're going to be extra cautious with him because we're not playing any games right now. It's July, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm on the way to practice and I get a roster move notification that's going at 8:30 says, "Oh, hey, by the way, we're activating Terzon Newton." I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess sooner is actually tomorrow."
yeah. I guess it's
That's how
right
soon
now. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a ramp up period for him. Like it's going to be more of like his version of off season training on steroids in some
Right.
ways. Like you're going to get the next few days of him just working on individual drills and technique, and then they're going to ease him into team drill. We're going to show a lot of that talent because remember this guy was a Big Ten defensive player of the year. Like this guy is a baller,
Yeah.
and by all accounts, he should have been a first round pick. Luckily,
Yep.
he wasn't because the Commanders wouldn't be able to grab him. But he's an instant contributor to this defense. It's going to hopefully change this team for the better and its unit for the better. Because I mean, you've got Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne as the starters. There's no denying that, and they looked great. They're gonna look great. But you have a guy who's kind of like has a lot of their same skill sets already in rotation as the quote unquote number 3 guy. Like that, there's not going to be any drop off there in terms of just like crash in the middle of the pocket with pass rushing moves. Like remember, he had 44 pressures in the Big Ten, which led the
Yeah.
conference as an interior defender. Like this dude is a master at rushing the passer as an interior guy. And whenever he gets on the field when team drill, it's going to be a sight to see because I think he really can help this team in so many ways.
There's a reason Adam Peters and them were so excited that he was still there. They didn't expect him to. They thought for sure he was a first round pick. And then drafting
No,
him
I'm
despite
sure
having
I'm sure they had their eyes on him.
Yeah.
And once that second round came around, they're like, "All right, well, we have 4 picks. Let's hope none of these other 3 teams get him." But like for some reason, he dropped to them, and maybe it's the Jones fracture. Maybe that's something to do with it. But whatever it is, the Commanders are very excited that they have 31 other teams passed on him.
Yeah, and Zach Selby, we do have to remember that he did all this while injured, having those 44 pressures and having 4 blocked kicks on special teams. So not only being able to help in that rotation, but possibly getting some special teams plays, maybe can help us with taking a couple points off the board. Sorry, Hall.
No, it's all good. Sticking with the same side of the ball on the defense. Going back to OTAs and mini camps, there's a lot of talk about Jamin Davis getting work with the defensive ends and maybe him becoming like a pass rusher or coming off the edge a lot or something like that. So, what did Jamin Davis look like today on the first day of mini camp or training camp?
Yeah, I mean, he looked kind of similar. It's hard. It's hard to judge guys that are close to the line of scrimmage because their position demands so much contact. But I will say, like, he was working with the defensive ends, like off to the side whenever they were doing 7-on-7 stuff, which I think this team and this coaching staff has done a very good job of just trying to be thinking outside the box in terms of what they want players to do. And they look at Jamin Davis and they think, okay, he's very good at going forward. He's very good at using his quickness to get past offensive linemen. He's good at finding creases in their pass protection. Why not just put him there and let him do what he does best, with just see ball, get ball? And I don't think it's going to be a complete change for him. I don't think he's going to be designated as a defensive end on game days or anything like that. I think he's still going to be an outside linebacker, but I would imagine there's going to be some packages where they just move their outside linebacker or their outside linebackers to the line of scrimmage, so he's like a pseudo defensive end in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think it's tough to see how he's going to do right now because it's a ramp up period and all that other stuff. But he's definitely a player to watch as the pads come on and things get a little more physical. I think that's when you're going to get a real barometer of how good he can be as a pass rusher.
My man, I know you said it's to wrap this up, Selby. I have a couple more questions for you. I know you said it's kind of hard at the line of scrimmage just because of how much contact is going on, a lot of bodies moving around, and you're on field level, so it's not like you have an upper view of what's happening there to help you out a little bit. But with left tackle, I know that Cornelius Lucas got the starting reps today. But what did you see out of the offensive line? Anybody stand out? And Brandon Coleman, did he run with the twos?
Yeah, Coleman was with the twos. Again, like I wouldn't say anybody necessarily stood out there. And I'm not going to be really paying too much attention to the offensive line until the pads come on, because I think that's when you're really going to start to get a good test of where these guys are at. I will say Brandon Coleman's technique has always it's been impressive to me, the way he's been able to improve day over day, week over week. And I do think he's gotten to the point now where you start to wonder if he's going to be able to push himself to be that starting left tackle. And I think they want him to, just they're going to push him to see if he can do it in his first, in the next couple of weeks. I think he's going. I mean, sooner rather than later, I think he's going to get a shot at some point at left tackle. The question is going to be when. I think they're still very confident in Cornelius Lucas because he's pretty good as a pass protector. Now history has shown that over the 7 or 8 games, he starts to kind of teeter off a little bit.
Right.
But I think it really is a 2-person race between those two, between Corn and Coleman. I'm rooting for Coleman because I think he's got a little bit of, but he's got the size, but he's also got the arm length and the quickness to adequately play tackle. So I think they want him to do that. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take for him to get there.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going to tip us off at all, because obviously with the Johnny Newton news and everything like that, they have kept everything close to the vest, and a lot of credit to them. That's something that hasn't been around in Washington for quite some time. My next question for you, obviously there's been a lot of changes on the offense with coordinators, defense, of course, adding Bobby Wagner and others is a complete 2/3 of the roster has been flipped here. So the red zone work, I'm really interested in hearing who won, if you were to say, in the red zone today, just because both sides have a lot of differences, and so it's not like anybody has an upper hand in that regard. So how did the team look, and who would you say won?
So I think, I'm glad you put air quotes in there because I think you have to put in a quick disclaimer, like the defense is not really, it can't be as physical as it should be because they're in shorts and helmets. They're not allowed to be as physical with these guys at the line of scrimmage. That said, I would say the offense probably looked more impressive to me, especially those starters, because I think that's where Jayden probably looked the best, which has been honestly one of my bigger questions about him. And that was the same question I had for Sam Howell last year, because as we all know, once we get to the red zone, everything gets a little bit tighter. Everything, your rates have to be a little bit faster. And I think Jayden, he has improved in that from his first minicamp practice to now. I think he's definitely processing things a lot quicker. He's getting the ball out quicker. He's looking at his options. He's surveying things. And I think the other good thing too is like they're implementing more run plays into that now too. Because I think during OTAs and minicamp is primarily pass for obvious reasons. But I think some of the passes that Jayden was throwing were just awesome. That pass to Brian Robinson, that touchdown in the corner of the end zone, like that was probably his best throw of the day. He also had another really nice. He had a couple of really nice ones to Casimir Allen. A guy that, I mean, I'm really hoping that he turns out to be something, because I've always had some hopes in him ever since last year. But he also had some hits to John Bates and Zach Ertz. He's spreading around his options, which is a good thing you want to see from a young quarterback in the red zone. But yeah, I would say the offense probably won the day there. I would expect that. Now, I will say when the pads come on and they did this drill I guess that will be Monday, will be the first day of pads. So I would expect the defense would probably at least be a little more even. Because they're allowed to be a little more physical. But for the parameters of what they were required to do, I think the offense showed a little more crispness. I thought they went through their system pretty well, and they looked. I don't think there was any issues in terms of like the huddle or just getting in and out of things. I think they were pretty crisp. I thought they were really efficient with doing stuff, and that's also another good thing to see them in the first day of camp.
Yeah, because obviously last year scoring points was an issue. And so being able to be better in the red zone is obviously a big area of concern for Washington fans. And glad to hear this, the first thing that they're working on. But last question I have for you. Also, I just wanted to say Terry McLaurin was talking in his presser today and highlighted the one hitch route that Jayden was able to hit to him in the end zone where Jayden threw the ball only where Terry could catch it. And he was saying that that hitch route is not something you typically run in the red zone, but because of where Jayden put that, he was able to put it on the spot where only Terry could get it. Just speaking of the accuracy and the knowledge of Jayden Daniels. So if Terry's talking well about you in the first day of training camp, I'm pretty sure we're in good hands at this point, Selby. But last question for you, kind of just as a reporter and just watching this team, obviously you started in 2019? I think it was right after Jay Gruden left.
Yeah, so it was right before Jay Gruden left, 2 weeks before Jay Gruden left.
Oh, so you were the Jay Gruden Grim Reaper. So that being
Yeah,
said,
that's what it was. All I knew was me.
Jay Gruden, next time he sees you, he's gonna walk out the door. He's gonna say, "No, not again, not again."
Yeah, I remember what you did to me last time, sir.
Last time I saw you, I got fired. With
Oh,
Adam
man.
Peters and Dan Quinn doing these joint pressers, I'm not sure if I've ever really seen that as much as it has been prevalent as they've done. It was a fresh breath of air to see them talking the day before training camp, giving out the mindset, the blueprint of what they were going to have for training camp, what to expect. What is that like for you as a reporter covering this team, and the kind of feel? Obviously it's well known to the feeling around the team. It obviously is different, but as you as a reporter who's been here for a little bit, how is that looking in your eyes?
It definitely seems like it's you're right, it is a very different vibe than what it's been in the previous years. It seems to me that just everyone is on the same page. And I think that's different than what it's been for a while. And last year I think everyone was maybe sort of on the same page, but then you had the new owner, and then you had there was obvious pressure on Ron Rivera to produce, or else the writing was on the wall there.
Right.
But I think for the first time, and even before since I was here, the head coach, the GM, the quarterback, the owner, all four of those are all aligned in going in the same direction. And I think it sounds like it's hyperbolic, but it's just like that's how a normal franchise is supposed to work. That's if you look at any of the more successful teams in the league, the 49ers, the Bills, Chiefs, and all the main pillars of those franchises are moving. They're all aligned, and they all have the same vision of where they want to go. And that, to me, it feels really good to see that. And it's still starting, right? There's still a long way to go before the Commanders get to any of those other teams that I mentioned. But you see the steps, you see the vision of what they could be, and there's no speed. I mean, other than just the natural speed bumps of winning games and just regular football stuff. There's no hitches. I don't think there's any pressure. I think these guys are really willing to be patient to figure out what they need to do to get to that championship caliber level, and they're willing to take the time to get to it, because these guys they've been around winning franchises before. They know that normally it takes time. There's not a Texans team. That's not a common thing where you can go from worst to first and just all of a sudden be a Super Bowl contender. Most of the time, even the 49ers were not a great team even in the first couple of years of the Kyle Shanahan era. And then all of a sudden they start to put things together with help from John Lynch and Peters and Shanahan's vision. They all sort of finally figured it out, and they started to become Super Bowl contenders. That's what they hope to get in Washington. And I don't want to put any win totals or anything on this year, but I think if you can just show reasonable improvement, maybe even double your win total from last year, that's a tremendous accomplishment. It's not even necessarily about making the playoffs. It's just about showing that you're getting from point A to point B, that you can get to point C, D, and E. I think if you can do that in your first year, you have a path to getting to perennial playoffs, hopefully championships along the way. And to me, that's exciting. It's you have to be patient, but it is very exciting.
Absolutely. Selby, I can't thank you enough for taking some time. I know you've had a long day and you're excited about training camp and seeing what the future lies. But before you get out of here, just like to plug your social media handle, just in case anybody following you hasn't followed you yet. But of course, you being the team editor, of course, they're going to know about you already.
Yeah, no, you can find me on Twitter / X, whatever you decide to call it these days, at Zach Selby WC. You can find me on Instagram at Zach D Selby, and if you want to reach out on Facebook, you can do that too at Zach Selby. But yeah, and if you want to check out some baking stuff, I usually throw in a couple of cakes and cookies here and there.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about you. Yeah, this is the baking.
That's a weird thing to say.
Kyle, I don't have a favorite thing about you. So,
Selby, I can't thank you enough, man. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy training camp. And next time that we have you on, we'll be able to talk a little bit more defensive ball. Obviously, without pads, kind of hard to do that at the moment. But have a great night, Selby. Enjoy yourself.
All right. Y'all take it easy.
Thank you, Selby. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Zach Selby. Always appreciate his time, being able to speak with us.
Who better to have on during day one of camp, too?
Yeah.
Then the day one guest.
Yeah.
Ooh, bars.
That's pretty sick.
Man, you're like Drake,
sick.
man. You're killing it.
Dog.
Is he certified? You
No.
know.
No. All right, everybody. Well, today has been fantastic, all the news coming out about the Commanders and Jayden Daniels and others, but we have a lot of fan questions that we would like to get into. The Colonel himself has 3, so I'll be able to come out with a little bit of these because not sure if this is going to be a full episode, just trying to get back up to speed with everything. But I will say this, the Adam Peters and Dan Quinn pressers, one of the glaring things to me that stood out was they said things that are perceived as weaknesses could actually be strengths in our eyes. And spoke glaring to me because obviously your imagination can run wild in that sort of regard and what that could mean because there's a lot of supposed weaknesses on this football team. But let's get into some fan questions, boys. This one by the Colonel, and it's a very, very good one. Sports Illustrated reports Johnny Newton has been activated from the active/non-football injury list after passing his physical. I thought they were talking about him possibly not being available until several games into the season. What gives on such a crazy opposite reporting on his condition?
I think he's just a freak of nature. No, I think that's probably a good thing. It's probably Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, whoever, the medical staff, being overly optimistic. Not wanting to put any stress on the young kid to make him get out there, feel like he has to hurry up, but just to kind of be like, take your time, and then ended up being pleasantly surprised because the boy is a freak of nature.
Yeah, look, when I did the post-draft film breakdown on Johnny Newton, man, I can't tell you enough how disruptive he was when you watch the film. And then hearing that he had an injury during this time and was still doing that, then on top of that, the 4 blocked kicks. I mean, the guy just speaks as a disruptor. I called him, John McClain Newton. And to hear that he's ready for camp, to at least be practicing, is such a relief. Because the one issue that we were talking before we started recording, saying, my goodness, like we thought that he would possibly being able to not being able to get into like a couple games of the season, like the Colonel said, and just getting into the fact that he's able to actually do individual work right now, a month before the season, over a month before the season starts. It just speaks to the fact of, no, we're not having any hiccups here. We're going to take it easy. And this is what I think that Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are saying. We're not throwing him into the fire, right? We're not going to put him in right away doing full teamwork. He's probably going to be doing individual work longer than he was, just doing teamwork at this point, right? So in my opinion, they're going to really ease him into the fold, but they want his body to get back to normal in the sense of getting into football shape. So he's going to be doing a lot of individual work, getting that ready, making sure that he is 100% before sending him out there for teamwork. So like individual work obviously is not like overly stressful, but if you're healthy enough, it's a great way for you to get back into shape as much as you possibly can without having the possibility of somebody stepping on your foot and causing another injury.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, I think I kind of thought he would be back towards like the middle of training camp, like sometime in August sometime like mid-August or something like that. And then obviously it would kind of take him a little bit of time to ramp up, and fingers crossed he'd be ready for game 1, but maybe by game 2, 3-ish, he'd be back and ready to go. But like you guys said, credit to him for obviously working really hard during the rehab and
Yep.
being ahead of schedule. And credit to not only the coaching staff, but everyone that's involved in the whole process, because in years past, you guys talked about, there'd have been all types of leaks about, oh, he's ahead of schedule or he's behind schedule or he's another second round bust or da-da-da-da-da. And I just think that since it's a whole new just operation over there, everything has just been tight-lipped from the process, the beginning of the whole process, going back to the beginning of the offseason. So, yeah, I'm happy that he's out there and definitely can't wait to see him contribute because he's going to be a big factor for this defense going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they
it's
did keep it very tight butthole on that. They kept that very tight.
and the fact
Kyle
that
doesn't know nothing about that. Come on, man.
the Commanders have all the players staying at a resort, Lansdowne Resort, if I'm not mistaken, which I absolutely love that idea. John Allen in his presser to reporters today talked about how, obviously if you have families at home and you go back to your own place, it's hard for you to kind of build those relationships with your teammates. But the fact being is, if you're in a resort, you're in a hotel together, you're kind of forced with those interactions. You can't go anywhere, right? And not saying family is a bad thing, but in this training camp in particular, it's very smart with all of these gelling and moving parts, the island of misfit toys, bringing them together and making sure that they are gelling with one another. Terry McLaurin in his presser today talked about how in the springtime they didn't do all that much football stuff. I'm paraphrasing, but they really did a lot of just group things. And he was sitting with the offensive line. He was sitting with the corners and Emmanuel Forbes, going golfing with Marcus Mariota, ping pong bags, doing a lot of things. And so it's really cool to see the camaraderie, the togetherness is really being emphasized here in a good adult manner that isn't crazy where you have the head coach sitting Indian style, outside of a bar. You know what I mean?
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny to think that the offensive players were kind of there was kind of like Dora the Explorer almost, where like Brandon Ayuk was swiper, so like they kept trying to avoid him the whole time, but like he was flying drones over and shit when they were practicing, trying to take pictures, and they're like, "Brandon Ayuk, stop! No swiping! What are you doing?" He was like, "Damn it, I gotta get out of here." They run away.
It was funny because Adam Peters in that presser said he was like, it wasn't film, it was still, it was still. And they said that we handled it in house. Well, I wonder what that means.
That's so funny. Yeah. Oh yeah. If he was here, he would have been sent straight to his room. He would have said, "Get up to your room, Brandon. Get up there. You're grounded."
Talk to Jayden. It was like, dude.
Probably got him on a three-way call. They all know each other. Probably just got him on a three-way call and just like, come on,
Brandon,
man.
cut the shit, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah,
You're brainwashing Jayden's fragile little mind. Stop. He's just a young bull.
Like, learn how to knit. Do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, do something. Yeah, change your name. I don't know. Do something.
Now, the next question from the Colonel Hall. He said, please comment on how potentially huge it is that Washington has a number 2 overall waiver order selection. Is this where we get a left tackle or a kicker? What other positions do you see us using our premium waiver wire pick on?
Yeah, cornerback maybe, possibly if there's some type of injury or if they see that they need to bolster it a little bit, maybe get a guy in there that they can plug and play. Left tackle, like you said, could definitely be a position. What else? Maybe defensive end. Maybe a defensive end they like gets cut and they can add him to the rotation, or he's a plug and play type of guy. That's a little bit of an upgrade from the guys that you have in the room right now. So second priority, just like you think about fantasy football, you always want, if you're second priority or like at the top of the waiver wire list, you're more than likely the guy you're going to put the waiver in for, your number one top priority, you're going to end up getting that guy, and it's going to enhance your team. So just like in real life, if you're the number 2 waiver person on the claims list, then if a guy like, I don't even know, say like Charles Leno a couple years ago was a guy on the list and they were number 2. Well, say whatever other teams put in the thing. Well, you're number 2. You get ahead of those guys. You get the guy you want, enhance your team. And even though he came to a kind of like a crashing end towards the end, but for the first couple of years, he was really solid left tackle. So, and it definitely enhanced the team. So I think that, being number 2 definitely is going to help. And I can definitely see them adding someone that can be a plug and play type of guy. The position, like I said, I'd probably say left tackle, but I could also see a cornerback being a position they target as well.
I'm not sure about left tackle, because the fan base, the media has been screaming about left tackle, but I've been saying this all offseason. There was nothing that they did in the offseason that said that this was a high priority on their list. They didn't go out paying big money in free agency to a left tackle, to the best one available, right? They didn't do that. They didn't draft a left tackle. They didn't trade up for one until they got Brandon Coleman. So it wasn't like it's something that they were saying it's a pressing and emergency situation. But Hall, you brought up a great point about fantasy football. You know, when you use that waiver priority, what happens to you? You get bumped down a little bit, kind of like Reed with his wife. You get taken down a peg or two. And so, like, you want to make sure
Hell
that
yeah.
you make it count, right? And so, in my mind, am I sitting here saying, is kicker going to be the reason why you get knocked down the waiver priority because you want to get your guy? But of course, that's points. That's points scored. How much confidence do they have in Ramiz Ahmed? And so that's where the big question comes into, because is there a good enough kicker out there that they feel really good about that they're going to say, yeah, let's do it and use it? But I love the idea of what you have with defensive end. I do think that's a good idea, as much as they brought in a lot of help in that regard. If there is a legitimate great piece out there you could add to the Island of Misfit Toys, go right ahead, right? But for me in particular, it's kind of hard to sit here and say it's going to be left tackle, because that's what we've been screaming all offseason, and every single one of their actions has pointed otherwise.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I mean, maybe a wild thought here. I know everybody already assumes that Nick Allegretti is going to start at left guard, and he very well could, but he was never a regular starter over in Kansas City. It's not like he's somebody that you signed and you're 100% sure he's going to go in there and start and do all this. I think they'll give him the time, but who knows? Maybe maybe that could be, they could bring in another body or something, somebody to go in there and back him up. I don't think that'll happen. Just throwing it out.
Just throw him out there. Now, the next question from the Colonel, Reed. I know our defensive scheme will be much different with new defensive coaches, real-life linebackers, and a killer defensive line. Our off-season defensive end acquisitions were brilliant. Armstrong, Farrell, Fowler, Jr., etc. My question about the defensive backfield, with Emmanuel Forbes, Derek Forrest, Percy Butler, and Benjamin St-Juste, and the new additions, I'm completely confused with this course of action. Might we trade or put, unfortunately, one or two of these guys on the waiver wire?
From the secondary?
Yeah.
Yeah, not everybody's going to be. The guys that they brought in all have starting experience, and not all those guys can make it. I mean, you can look at like Noah Igbinogi, and however you pronounce his name. Sorry, sir. But then like drafting like Sainer still and bringing in like Davis, and like they brought in, they have a lot of safeties as well. Not all these guys are going to make the team, but you want those veterans and people that have playing experience, so that way you can kind of judge. I mean, you don't want somebody going there with no experience. So I do think somebody from there, a couple guys probably will hit the waiver wire, maybe a corner and a safety. I don't think it'll be any of the holdovers from the previous regime, though. I think like Derek Forrest is pretty safe. I think, obviously, I mean, you don't want to take the pay cut for Emmanuel Forbes, and that would be that would suck. If we got him after 1 year, that would just be like, come on, Ron, the hell was that? And I don't think Benjamin St-Juste, I think that you can see a lot of potential in him. So maybe some of these new guys that they brought in.
Yeah, and with Christian Darrisaw getting that new contract, it really
I
does muddy the
know.
waters a little bit.
Such a
doesn't it?
slap in the face.
But the one thing I don't like about that is everyone complaining about the Justin Herbert one. Like, can we take a second and remember back to that time?
Chase Young, if Joe Burrow wasn't in that draft, Chase Young would have been the number one pick, hands down.
But can we be honest about that Justin
He
Herbert
was
draft?
such a big
Everyone
prospect.
and their mother was sitting here calling Dwayne Haskins Simba, the next king. Give him the right opportunity, the right ability to be able to perform here. You know what everyone would have been saying if Ron Rivera drafted Justin Herbert. Oh, this is a shaft against Dwayne Haskins. They're not giving him the correct chance. Now he's got to look over his shoulder. Everyone and their mother knows that that's what would have been said.
Oh, yeah.
As a fan base, I think that we should probably chill out a little bit on that regard, just because like there was politics involved there.
Yeah,
and it's
you don't do
very
that when you
evident
just
that it
drafted
was.
a guy. Like the only time that you can even think of that really happening was Josh Rosen, and Josh Rosen was that bad, and they had the number one pick after that. So it was like,
And that guy
plus Josh
treated,
Rosen.
and he was such a d-bag too, which is so
He's
weird.
such a
Like,
he's so beta. I was like,
Not even that
he's
good.
a beta male. Yeah. And he looks like a little weasel, his little face on him.
but Colonel, I'll say this: I'm not sure about the corners because there's not that many corners on the roster. And it's much more so like the safeties where there's a lot of depth. So I could possibly see somebody like Percy Butler possibly, but it goes into the special teams aspect.
And the hybrid roles.
Right, and so you still have Quan Martin, of course, sitting there. They drafted Mike Sainer still, Benjamin St-Juste, Emmanuel Forbes, and the unfortunate thing about Emmanuel Forbes is about his playmaking ability. You know it's there. It was there in college. Obviously, having a former high school football coach, no disrespect to him, being the coach of the DBs, you can't really say that Emmanuel Forbes was put in the correct position. But if Joe Wait and company see that and they say that body size I can't work with, and it's not like we're getting the most out of it, I can understand why they go down that route. But trading, I'm not sure if it's going to muster anything. Like, Tim Towner asked us last week about possibly the Vikings, like trading Benjamin St. Juste or somebody to the Vikings. Well, like Hall, we talked about, probably a late rounder is what you're looking at. And, of course, you'd love another draft pick. But is it worth it in that regard?
Right.
And I leave that up to the coaches.
Yeah, and to your point, like if you're gonna get a third round pick or above, then I can maybe see like you thinking about for X player for those picks because, like you said, it's about building for the future, and you can get younger and better going forward. You think about that, but yeah, I mean, if he can help your team this year going forward, then I would assume you're going to try to get the most out of him this year to help your team this year, and then worry about next year. But yeah, I think the cornerback wise. Just right now, just me, just going off like top of my head, I can say Emmanuel Forbes, St. Juice, who I'm really high on. I think he's going to have his best year here out of his 4 years here. I think this will be his best year. What's his name? Michael. What's the cornerback we just signed from the Chargers?
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis. Yeah, Mike Davis. That's the third guy, and then the fourth guy. Is probably up in the air, and the fifth guy's up in the air. So, I mean, we still got a guy like Christian Holmes who's on the roster, who's really good on special teams, and that's also what you got to take into account as well. Like, Can these guys help on special teams? And if they're contributors on there, then they're going to be. They're going to make the active roster just because of that. So, it's hard to tell right now. It's the first day of camp, but I think by maybe halfway through camp, you'll start to see who's kind of the pecking order of. Okay, who's in danger of being cut and who's not?
Yeah, what's really unfortunate is the defensive line is where a lot of the bodies are, and F.A. Obata getting swapped with Newton, definitely hurts his case. Coming from the previous regime, no disrespect to him, obviously. It's not like they're looking at him in a bad mindset, but he really was needed to be in a position to prove himself to the staff.
They have 2 first and 2 second-round picks on the team, like with Fedarian Mathis, Newton, obviously Payne Allen does 3 are safe, and then so that's tough. It's tough.
Very tough. Now, the next question that we have, this is from Tim Towner. During the presser Tuesday, AP said Dan Quinn's superpower was finding the best way to use his players. So, Reed, in the spirit of camaraderie, pick one of your fellow podcasters and tell us their superpower.
Kyle and his throat that doesn't end. That's your superpower. The ungaggable, Kyle Remick. He could go both ends, and then spin him around and ring, little piggy. My superpower would probably be to turn anything extremely gay. I think that's probably what I'm best at.
I was gonna be nice. I was going to say really nice things about you guys.
You can still say something nice.
All right, so I'll say something nice. Reed, obviously, his superpower is just making anybody laugh. I think that probably. Elite in that category, I will say, without a doubt.
99 Madden.
Yeah. 99 in Madden. For Hall, I think Hall's is a little bit different in the sense that Hall is very good at being able to think outside the box. And does a good job of checking me on my mindset. I'm very stubborn in some regards. Like, I think my way is the highway, but, Hall more than anybody is able to articulate a point really well. So if I'm going to say anything, it's Hall's, like, it's funny because when we play flag football, like, people were like, who is this dude? Are you sure you want to play wide receiver? I'm like, dude, just wait. Like, throw my boy the ball and you'll frickin' see. And that's Hall. Hall's superpower is he's that undercover dude that's just going to blow the doors off you. The sleeper in that
sleeper
regard.
cell.
Yeah, exactly.
Hall's also very, very good at being asleep but being awake at the exact same time. Yeah. I don't know anybody else who can do that.
You want to talk about 99 Madden?
Yeah. You might even be the coveted 100.
Guaranteed to fall asleep during a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I literally, third time's the charm. I just tried to watch The House of Dragon for the third time. last episode. Like literally, I kept falling asleep in the same spot.
Dude, I couldn't even watch the last two yet, but I feel you, dog.
Then I had to stop it to come do this. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're
Now
disrupting his dragon time, Kyle.
Now this next question. This is from Tim Towner. Burgundy Zone does math on a scale of 1 to 10. What are the chances that Jamin is not on the team in week 1? Damn, bro, leave me alone.
I'll say like 1 being like he is on the team and 10 being not on the team.
Yeah.
I'd say 2, just because I do think that they're gonna find his superpower, and I think they're gonna play him a lot at as like a situational pass rusher, maybe like a defensive end type of style, and then so I do think that he'll be on the roster. The only way he's not on the roster is if maybe he gets like injured or something like that. I mean, but I think he'll definitely be there.
Yeah, it's just too bad he didn't get into NASCAR. Then his superpower could be unleashed. For
He would
me,
go full blown Lightning McQueen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say a 5, and the only reason I say that is because like you could say that he fits into the Frankie Louvu backup kind of role, and because of the athletic ability, because of his speed, his quickness, and his ability to get after the quarterback, and having the background of learning linebacker over the past couple of years, you could say that he has generated those sort of instincts in trailing and being able to cut off run lanes and stuff. And so I think that it probably would be a bad idea at this point to just cut ties with him altogether. So I'll say a 5, but the reason why it's only a 5 is because of the knuckleheadness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think. I mean, unless he gets another, speeding ticket or something, I don't think he's gonna. I think he's relatively safe. Just his skill set and his athleticism. Those coaches are like foaming at the mouth to be able to try him at a bunch of different places and see what they can get out of him. So I don't think. I think it'll be there.
Kind of like Reed's clients.
Kind of like.
I will say this
They just
though:
can't wait to try.
the only way that like I could see him like jeopardy of being cut is because he's just like he's not really getting like the pass rusher type of like production that they want to see out of him during camp, and maybe they're just like, you know what, let's just cut ties. But even then, I can look at it and be like, he's so athletic, he can do something on special teams, especially with the new kickoff rule and stuff like that. So, like, I think there's a spot for him no matter what the case is, but how limited and how much playing time he gets, that's like the actual real question.
And to your
he could
point,
be the chauffeur.
And to your point, one of the
get you there. He's a great Uber driver.
To your point, Reed, one of the worst departures that we've probably had, and no disrespect to Mike Shanahan for making this decision, but Lorenzo Alexander. You know, he was here, special teamer, defensive line in particular, interior, or linebacker. Which one was it? I forget.
Dude, he moved from like left guard when he first came out. Then he went to
like 7 out of
tackle. Then he went to linebacker,
and then became
anything except secondary.
He was one-man gang, dude.
And then became literally one of the premier edge rushers later on in his career, and that sort of thing could happen with Jamin. So that Jamin does have that in his back pocket to say somebody has done this before. And I heard from practice today that he's being very receptive to what he's being taught from others. Like Dorrance Armstrong took him to the side, was giving him pointers on edge rushing. And so as long as you're receptive, you are motivated to be able to get forward, you have a very good chance to make this football team. I don't know. I'm just saying that having that sort of mindset is what I think coaches are looking for.
Also, lowest hairline on the team, or highest hairline on the team, because it almost touches his eyebrows every time. I always say it. But he has a one head because his forehead is so small. It goes like right there. It's so cool. Jamin, give some to me.
I'm gonna crop that. Dude.
You're gonna crop Jayden Davis's
Jamie, give some to me.
Jamie, give some to me.
I'm sure you do want him to give you some.
People are gonna say, I wonder what he said that about.
Yeah, if somebody wasn't paying attention fully, like, what's Reed saying right now?
What is he
never heard
to
someone say they got
Davis?
a 1 head. It's always like a 5 head or 6 head.
Yeah, but his is so goddamn tiny. He doesn't. Everybody always talks about like when you have a big head, like you have thought movies. Like he doesn't dream. He goes. Jamin has fucking ads on YouTube. Jamin has 30-second ads.
What are we talking about here? Now, the next question. This one was from Deluxe in the Discord. The players were asked to set the goals for the team. These goals have been kept in-house by the players. Players have ownership of their goals, which creates accountability. If you were able to set the goals for the team, what would they be? And part 2, what goals would you set for the Burgundy Zone as you embark on a new season of coverage? Of course, those could be kept in-house as well.
Try not to get canceled.
Yeah. Well, number one goal is to make sure that the good guys win the election. And I'll use my platform to do that.
What would be your goals for the
Protect
team?
45 at all costs. Soon to be 47. Make sure nothing bad happens.
What would be your goals for the team?
Oh, man.
Me?
Yes. If you could set the goals for the team, what would they be?
Fucking
Got riled up over
double.
Trump, man.
Yeah. A lot of goals. I don't know. Fucking double your wins. How many games did they win last year?
4.
Okay, don't double. Maybe that's a little too high right now. Win 2 more games than you did last year. Feel good. Build some camaraderie. Make sure Damon stays upright and make sure that he's learning and he doesn't get too down on himself. I think that's important for his confidence going forward, which is huge, as we know here with first-round pick quarterbacks in Washington.
Okay. All right. I like that. For the goals for the team, if I could set them, honestly, because I've said this before, Arch, that I think it's all based on them playing as one, being one continuous unit. So if I could set goals for the team, it would be if you see a guy getting down, if you see a guy beating on himself, kind of like Reed on the weekends whenever he's watching Batman. Like when you see that sort of
Kelsey's
thing.
a guy beating on himself.
Whenever you just go, making sure that you're going over to help somebody out, getting them ready to go, saying, that's not the end all be all, so to speak. Let's keep fighting. Let's keep going. This isn't the end of the road, so to speak. That's what I would say if I could set the goals for him. Just look out for somebody and be able to be there for your teammates and try to put yourself over, be able to help them in that regard. Just being able to lift your teammates up. Maybe it should be celebrating a teammate's successes on the field more. A lot of times in years past, we saw guys celebrating by themselves, right? Well, let's go over and celebrate. Let's make this a whole unit thing, So I would say if that's the goals, it's to celebrate as one, to win as one, lose as one, and be able to succeed as one. That's what my goals. And then goals for the Burgundy Zone. I mean, dude, that's probably where I lack, just being in the position that I am. Obviously being the creator of this, where we just like to have fun. And as much as I get on the guys about things that I expect and want more of, they make sure to let me know if things are getting too serious and things like that. Because we just want to have fun, but we also know that we would love to quit our day jobs and do this. So honestly, if I'm being completely honest, if I could set our goals for this upcoming season, it would just be able to bring laughter and fun and entertainment to people. Anybody watching, want them to be able to have a laugh about it. There's a lot of craziness going on in the world today. So as long as you can enjoy the hour you spend with us, that would be probably a really good goal for me.
Yeah. Team goals, I would say play hard all 18 weeks of the or 17 games of the season. Or is it 18 games? Yeah, 17 games of the season. Play hard all 18 weeks, even though you got the bye week. So play hard all 17 games. Hold each other accountable and just set be proud of the foundation that you've set. By the end of the season, you can look back and be like, I'm proud of what we built in 2024. I can't wait to go in 2025 because I know we've built something. We're building something great, and we're on the right path to being a successful team and franchise. So that would be my team goals, is be able to look back on the 2024 season and say, I'm proud of what we started and what we built, and we laid the foundation of something great that's coming in 2025 and beyond. And Burgundy Zone goals, I would say just keep making y'all laugh, keep having fun, and we're at 2.94 subscribers on YouTube. Let's get to 3K by the end of the season.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, ring that bell. That's what they say on YouTube's. That's what I think that they say. Also, another thing would be find players that want to be here going forward. We've got a lot of one-year contracts. You want people that want to be here and want to see this through and want to play a part in this rebuild. So I think that's fairly important as well, that and friendship.
Oh, Reed, just let you know you're on a 1-year deal, by the way. All right.
I know, yeah, I'm day-to-day. Come on.
Day-to-day guy. Last question that we have from the Discord. This is from Alid. When would you name a starting quarterback / QB1, Reed? Taking into account, we have a rookie in this position, also opposing teams in the wider roster. When, in your opinion, would be the optimum time?
It's tough because Jaden's gonna. I mean, he's gonna start. He has to
Yeah.
because the only time a quarterback that's drafted that high doesn't start is if they just completely seem outmatched, but like they still have the physical tools. But Jaden's got it. He can play in this league. He knows that. So, I mean, we all know it. When will he be named? When are they usually named? When is that? It's been a while. Is it usually like mid camp or it's right before week one preseason? I don't know. Or
If you're Ron
let's
Rivera, you keep them guessing until
yeah, yeah,
5 minutes
yeah.
before the
Yeah,
game.
you keep them guessing. Yeah, that's right. If you're
Nah,
looking
but
for
it's usually
Ron,
after
you
like
don't
the
want to show
second
your
preseason
hands.
game or something like that.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So we'll just say around standard time that you would expect them to announce a rookie
Around
quarterback that they.
halftime of the first game. That's
Yeah,
when we're
yeah,
going
yeah.
to know.
Around, yeah, yeah.
No, honestly, Aled, it's funny because the whole naming of the starting quarterback, it's all just it's just like for the fans and the media, like for if you played high school ball, college ball, like you know who the starting quarterback is. If you're on that team, you know who that person is, right? And it's not like the coach is coming out and saying, "All right, guys, this is our starting." Like you already do know.
Yeah.
And so in this regard, that's what I think that they are. Look, when do they have to notify the media and everything like that? In my personal opinion, you don't even have to. But for me personally, I wouldn't name the starting quarterback in the media until that quarterback fundamentally, concretely has proved to his teammates and to the team that he is the man for the job. And to be perfectly honest with you, it should not be that hard. No disrespect to any zero. But I'm just saying that it's not some it's something that just seems like very political. Like, oh, when are you going to name the starting quarter? Like, we know. We know who the starting quarterback is. You know what I'm saying? And look, no disrespect to what the Patriots are doing with Jacoby, because Jacoby is a fantastic quarterback. He deserves a chance to start and have his own team, of course. But this is a different situation for us. This is a team that has been starving for a quarterback, and we're able to get one without having to trade up and release a bunch of assets. With the new regime, I think we all know where the future lies, and does it matter when it happens for me personally? Not really. I just think that you'll know, and the team knows, and I think at this point we all do.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, if you played any sport, like you pretty much know like who the guys are going to be the starters, whose guys are getting playing time. Like you kind of know the pecking order going into the whole situation. So, and like Dan Quinn said, it's no secret. Like, but they're still going to process play out because Dan Quinn's all about competition and treating everyone the same and being equals. And if you're going to make Dorrance Armstrong compete with Dante Fowler and Colin Farrell for starting position and reps, then you're going to make Jayden Daniels compete for it.
Yeah, of course my internet starts
Even
tripping up.
yeah, at the end of the day, I think that honestly, if they go up to what's the first preseason game against the Jets, when they go up there and they scrimmage them and they have the joint practices or whatever it is, I think that
I thought
you'll
Miami
see
was
that
first. Am I tripping?
might be. I don't know whether it's Miami or it's New York, whichever one's first. Whenever they go to the first joint practice leading up to that, whenever they go 11 on 11 or 7 on 7, I'm pretty sure you're going to see Jayden Daniels out there with the ones going with the against their defensive ones. So that's when you'll know that Jayden is the guy, even though everyone already knows. But as far as announcing it, like you said, it doesn't really matter because everyone knows come week one, number 5 will be out there taking the first snap for the offense.
Yeah, and look, and I've heard people say, you got to keep them hungry, younger. You can't just give it to them and anoint it to them. Look, and I
He
understand
knows.
what you're saying, but we also have to take into consideration the quarterback that we do have. Is that in his DNA? I mean, this is the guy at LSU who everyone knew. He was brought in from ASU, highly touted, brought in, and he's working and getting what 400 extra snaps a week just in VR training. That's not somebody who's just sitting down enjoying the limelight, enjoying the spotlight, having fantastic wide receivers, and enjoying just throwing them the ball and having a good time chilling on the couch eating Doritos. This is a dude that was putting in the work to get better every single day. And it's not like this is somebody who will be willing to sit idle. And that's where it goes into the scouting process on getting the hardworking guy that wants to be here, that doesn't quit, and has not a lot to prove, but is not ever going to be not satisfied, but just continuing to work. And the hard work is what is ingrained in the DNA. And I think at this point with Jayden Daniels, it's not so much a projection. I think we already know that's who he is. And so that's why I'm much more so on the side of saying I don't think it needs to be said. I think this is the right man for the job.
Have you ever seen that Black Mirror episode with the video games and the virtual reality with the two bros?
Nah.
No? Oh my God. Okay, this is the fucking weirdest concept for a show ever. Two guys go into virtual reality. They're like best friends. They go into virtual reality and play video games to the future. They start banging in the virtual reality. They start like that's just their thing. They just go meet up in the virtual reality world and start porking each other. But what if that's why Jayden was so obsessed with the virtual reality?
I was wondering why was I was like, I was wondering. I was like, how's this about to tie in?
He's really spending a lot of time at that. I'm really proud of him. Meanwhile, he's just sitting there with Brandon Ayuk, and he's just like, I'm sorry.
I was going to say it. I didn't want to. Thank you for saying it. Thank you for saying it. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up.
99% of it.
I don't know why you got to do that. Now, Hall, you said not to get canceled. Yeah.
Yeah. Tomorrow's the new day.
I'm uncancelable.
It's virtual reality, though, so it's not like the actual act, you know what I'm saying? But
it's not real. It's just an idea. I definitely thought about it.
Wait, the virtual reality?
Yeah, Jayden sure does love those virtual reality headsets.
I have so many questions, but not enough time.
Why is he always wearing it? Why is he spending the night playing virtual reality?
That is indeed your superpower. There is no doubting it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this episode. It's been fantastic to celebrate the first day of camp. I know it's kind of late in the evening, but obviously new camp tomorrow morning. Pads come on Monday. Enjoy the week. We'll see you guys again on Sunday night. Have a safe one. Enjoy the training camp.
Was that like breaking news, or was that like already known that like the pads are going on Monday? I didn't even know that. I was like, when he said that, I was like, okay.
They get a schedule. I'm pretty sure the media.
Oh yeah, I'm saying, but like I don't know if they put it out there. The schedule was like put out there or not.
Knew it. Yeah, us regular civilians knew it.
No, true.
No, I don't know.
He found out the virtual reality.
Yeah, I said, "Where's your pads, teammate?" And he said, "I took them off. Quick, hit the showers." I said, "Okay, well, no, leave me alone." But reluctantly went. I'm just kidding. It's the weirdest episode of the show I've ever seen in my life. It's so weird.
The only time you're playing
it's what's his face? What's the dude who played it's not fucking the guy who was in the Avengers. He was I can't remember his name. God damn it. It's funny when you know who it is. He was in 8 Mile.
Oh,
he was Papa Doc.
Clarence in 8 Mile.
Yeah, Clarence.
Yeah.
The guy with 2 parents.
Yeah.
Lives at home with his parents.
Yeah.
Went to private school.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. We got to get out of here before he starts talking about the virtual reality again. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
And I want to tell you guys about this new virtual reality I got. You can feel it.
We'll see you guys again on Sunday night. Have a great week, everybody. We love you guys. If you made it this far, you're a champion. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.